Today we want to play a little game called Contender, Pretender. I'm going to fire 3 teams at you. Tyler will then fire 3 teams at you. You let us know if the team in question is a contender or pretender to win the NBA title. We will start in the Eastern Conference, 10-4 over the last 14 games. Contender, pretender, the Miami Heat.
I still got to say pretender with this team. Look, I know that they're starting to get it together. They had a lot of COVID issues and other injury issues at the beginning of the year that got them to a slow start. But I still think there's not another gear for this team based on what we saw a year ago. And that's what would have to happen for a team like that to legitimately be a contender, which for me, that means you can actually see this team in the finals or potentially winning a championship. I don't throw that word around lightly, and I just don't see that gear for some of the key guys that they had a year ago. So I'd have to list them still as a pretender, although nobody should want to play that team in the first round or second round of the playoffs.
All right, they lost by 31 points to the Denver Nuggets last night. Contender or pretender, the Milwaukee Bucks?
Yeah, I'm going to say pretender. And going into the year, I wouldn't have said that because I love the addition of Drew Holiday. This team had to have another answer on the perimeter, a better offensive player than what they've had at the guard position. They added that in Drew Holiday. The problem is this. In a playoff series, if it goes a long way, you're probably going to have 3 games where it comes down to a handful of possessions at the end of the game. I still don't like the way the Milwaukee Bucks handle those situations because they have a 2-time MVP that I think they fall into the trap. Giannis has to be the guy to go settle this, and that's where his limitations get exposed. His inability shot, a deep shot. He's a questionable free throw shooter in those situations. I just don't think they've given enough of the control of the offense to Drew Holiday for my liking in those situations, and that's why I think once again they come up short of the finals.
Very interesting. So maybe they're a pretender. What about the team that's a half game up on the Brooklyn Nets for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, the Philadelphia 76ers? Contender or pretender?
I'm going to put them as a contender. I legitimately think this team can get to the conference finals and give Brooklyn probably the best matchup of any team in the East because they have a very unique way to attack you. Nobody has a Joel Embiid in this league, a guy that legitimately now for the first time in his career is playing for 48 minutes like a power player. Now, he'll still make his occasional jump shot. He'll shoot a 3 because he has the skill set to do it. But that's not his primary focus. It's getting to the paint and dominating you at the foul line and with his skill set and touch within 10 feet of the basket. It's watching him play with this kind of stamina and commitment to it and the extra shooting they've added around him, I think Philadelphia is a legit contender.
All right, Legs, that was the Eastern Conference from Brother Fortenbaugh. I'm going to take us out west of the Mississippi to the Western Conference. 3 more teams. And before I get to that, I got to ask you this. Has any ESPN personality ever introduced you by saying, "We've got legs, and we know how to use him"?
Yes. It's happened a lot over the course of my time here at ESPN.
So I'm obviously very creative. I'm obviously just a fake, a fraud, a phony there. But we do love using you here, Legs, because you know your stuff when it comes to the association. Now to the West. My Phoenix Suns. We were just talking about my Phoenix Suns. They're 23-11, second best record in the Western Conference. Actually have a better point differential in net rating than the LA Lakers right now, the defending champs. Contender or pretender in Phoenix?
You've got to call them a pretender right now in terms of actually winning a championship or getting to the finals. Look, I love this team. It's one of my favorite teams to watch right now. This is a great story. You have young players that are starting to really grow up. Chris Paul's obviously added a lot of leadership, but here's the thing. This is a team that when you really look at their matchup potentially, even in the first round, even if they ended up as a 2 seed, when you start talking about having to play either a San Antonio or a Portland or a Denver or one of these teams at the bottom half of the East that's got a ton of playoff experience, I just don't know if we can count on that kind of a progression in 1 year. There are certain rungs on this ladder you have to take. I don't know that you skip 6 rungs and go from a team that became a nice story in the bubble to a team now that's a conference finalist or a finalist. They're not quite there yet, but this is a great story, and I can see them winning a round, but that would probably be about it in the West.
All right, Legs, how about a team that disappointed last year in the bubble? The LA Clippers have a new coach now with Ty Lue. Doc Rivers gone, but that nucleus of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Pat Bev still in place. Contender or pretender for the LA Clippers?
Yeah, I almost feel like you have to put them as a contender, right? This is the team we really expect ultimately to see the Lakers in the conference finals if both teams are healthy. But look, I have doubts about this team. I'll still list them as a contender because of the talent, and I do think they look like a better version of what I saw a year ago defensively. But I've got question marks about Paul George. He has to be big when they need him to be big in those series-defining moments in a playoff series. And he has struggled with that throughout his career. And I don't know if he's overcome that. He's had a great start to the year, but that doesn't matter. It's all fluff in the regular season. I need to see him, in a 2-2 series, in a Game 5, when Kawhi is just average. I need to see Paul George have a 35-point game and get them through that moment. He has struggled with that in the past, and it's not just last year in a Game 7 against Denver. It's historically throughout his career. He has had some rough moments on nights when his team desperately needed him to be really good, if not great. So I still have question marks, but the talent alone and the fact that they're better defensively, certainly you have to list them as a contender.
ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler, kind enough to join us here on Bet. Legs, I apologize for Tyler's singing. Put it out of your mind.
ZZ
Hopefully
Top,
you'll
baby.
join us again soon. Thank you so much.
That's all right. I love ZZ Top. We're good.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.